Welcome to the RSVP Northern Virginia Podcast, where each week we'll take a look at some of the outstanding volunteer opportunities available to seniors in our area. I'm your host, Rob Payne, an Outreach Assistant with RSVP. Hi, this is Rob Payne with RSVP Northern Virginia, and welcome to the newest RSVP Northern Virginia podcast. This morning, we have the pleasure of speaking with Tracey Stephens, the Transportation Manager for the Shepherd Center of Fairfax-Burke in the South County office, located down here in the County of Fairfax office on Route 1. Tracey, welcome to the podcast, and thanks for being with us this morning.
Thank you.
Tracey, could you give us a little bit of an idea of what you do and what in particular Shepherd Center of Fairfax-Burke does in South County?
Well, I'm not sure if everyone knows, but the Shepherd Center, we're a nonprofit. We provide needs for older adults that's over 50 who need medical transportation, companion shopping. We have various programs. At South County, we're only focusing on medical transportation right now, but our main location up in Fairfax, we have maybe 5 different services. And if you want to get a little bit more familiar, you can just go to our website and check it out. But most, our primary programs are the medical transportation and companion shopping. And
just so we want to get that out of the blocks there, the website. The website is www.scfbva.org, and we'll also link that website on our podcast on YouTube and on Facebook. So it'll be right under the podcast. But again, that website is www.sc, like South Carolina, fbva.org. Now, the main thing that you guys focus on, we were talking before the podcast, and the main thing that you guys focus on down here is medical transportation. Could you talk a little bit about how that process works and what type of what's expected of the volunteers who do that?
So with our medical transportation program now, here in South County, I've been around for a year. Actually, this month marks our 1-year anniversary. And I must say, for a very new program, we're doing really, really well. Thanks to my volunteers. Again, we couldn't do it without volunteers. So what happens is I normally get a phone call from a client who needs a transportation to their medical appointment. The first question that I ask is, where do you live at? We have a small service area. They'll give me their address. I then look it up. I have various maps in my office. I'll look up their address and make sure they're within my boundaries. After I find that out, I also make sure they're over 50 years old and that they no longer drive. And when I say no longer drive, that means maybe they're due to have surgery and they can't drive, or they've never driven. So, and those are really the 3 qualifications for our program. We don't income qualify. You could be at a high or low tier, in the middle, whatever. I don't ask you any personal questions like that. All I want to know is where you live at, how old you are, and if you no longer drive.
Now, Tracey, one of the things that we were talking about was that you all offer such a great service to seniors that it creates a lot of demand for volunteers, and what we're here to talk about today. When you have a volunteer, when you're looking for volunteers, what type of what do you tell them? What's required of them? What's exactly how does the process work if you're a volunteer?
Sure. Yes. With our volunteers, really all I'm looking for is someone that wants to give back in the community, that has a passion just for socializing with people. A lot of the clients that need rides to their medical appointments, you may be the only one that they may see for a while. It's almost just kind of like a social moment for them. It's some companionship, really. And a lot of them just, they're so appreciative. So really, of my volunteers, your own car, insurance, and just the willingness to want to take people around. So normally with the volunteers, a ride for a medical transportation normally is from maybe an hour to 3 hours, and it's within the local area. We try to stay within Alexandria, Springfield, Lorton. Some of them go to maybe Fairfax or Falls Church or Annandale, but we're not going up to Reston, McLean, anything like that. So normally your service area for the clients is going to be less than 15 to 20 miles or so. But the hours that it could take, normally about 1 to 3 hours.
Now, one of the big advantages, Tracey, and let me know if this is correct or not, for being an RSVP volunteer through Shepherd Center is that when you're driving these folks around, you're covered by liability insurance through RSVP, since we're a federal program, and you also get mileage up to about $20 a month. So that can really help out,
Nice.
can it?
Yes.
That's great. That's
Very
great.
much so.
That's great. Now, what is there any type of training needed? Like when you all bring in a new volunteer, do they go through a training session? What's that process?
So that process looks like, again, because I'm a very new program, normally I'll get, maybe one volunteer a month. So I'll just have them, I call it actually like a meet and greet. I actually have them come in the office just so they could see where I'm located. We just sit and chat and just talk about what they want to get out of the program. And normally that takes maybe less than an hour.
Do they need to go through any type of a background check or a DMV check or anything like that?
Yes, great question. I have a short application. On that application, it asks, your policy insurance number, social security number. We will perform a background check, and that background check takes maybe 3 to 5 days. And the background check, they're looking at your motor vehicle record along with criminal and sex offenders. So it's actually 3 areas in that background check that they will look at. And again, it's real quick. We pay for it, and after it comes back, I get you driving.
That's great. That's wonderful. Now, a lot of concerns I know when people come into volunteering is, how much, you touched briefly on the amount of time and the commitment, but I wanted to broach that subject a little bit deeper. If somebody, are there any requirements as far as how many folks you have to drive a week, or is it basically, can you do 1 a week, can you do 3 a week, can you do 5 a week? How does that, is there any requirement on that end?
Not at all. I tell you what, I love my volunteers, and I realize that the time that they give is their time. And most of my volunteers are retired, so they are already, volunteering with other agencies. So really, it's as much or as little time as you want to give. It could be 1 drive a week or 2 drives a week. Actually, the clients can only get 2 drives a week. So the most that I will call on my volunteers is twice a week.
Now I've chatted briefly with one of your star volunteers who's also with RSVP, Mona, and she's told me that one of the things that she sees is you start working with the same people and building up relationships. Is that pretty much the way it works for a lot of folks?
Yes, we actually call that coupling. I'll get clients, and because they've had such a really good ride with that volunteer, they'll say, is such and such available, and of course, if they're available, when I call the volunteer, I'll tell them, client such and such asked about you, and would you like to drive that person? But of course, it's based on who's available. But yeah, you see that a lot.
Good. And that's something else, again, just to reiterate something you said a few minutes ago. I think that the average person, we talk a lot about aging in place, and that's a popular, but it's important and important concept, which when people can depend on volunteers to get rides to doctor's appointments or rides, in other cases, other services that are offered by Shepherd Center, I think in Fairfax, to stores and things like that, that's potentially one less person that has to be put in assisted living or living, that would prohibit them from living independently.
I agree.
And that helps not only the client, but that helps everybody. Like Meals on Wheels, when you're a volunteer driver, you're giving personal contact to people who might not have contact with anyone else on that given day or that given week. So that really makes a gigantic difference. One other question that I think might come up with some folks, because we're talking about driving people back and forth to doctors and medical appointments. Do the volunteers who drive the clients of the Shepherd Center, do they have to have any type of a medical training or medical background?
Not at all. The one thing that we ask of our clients is that they're all mobile. That means that they have to be able to walk on their own without any assistance other than a cane or a walker. And it may require light assistance from the volunteer, but we do not accept any clients in wheelchairs because that would be a liability for the volunteer.
Right.
Again, and we do have an umbrella policy, which is insurance. We've never had to use it, but just in case someone would get into an accident, we have an umbrella policy. Of course, the driver's policy would kick in first and then ours if it's not covered. But in all of 10 years that we've been around, we've never had any issues with any accidents at all. Thank goodness.
That's great. That's fantastic.
Yeah.
And like you said earlier, most of the driving is done within a relatively short distance.
It really is.
They're like you said, they're not driving from Groveton to Reston or something like that. I mean, maybe in an extreme situation, but usually that's just not
Everything
the case.
is normally local.
So, Tracey, in addition to the ride delivery service that you do with the volunteers, the Shepherd Center of Fairfax-Burke also offers some other services to the community programs.
Yes,
correct?
some really great services. Again, they do, along with medical transportation, they have companion shopping. They do a lunch and life, which they come together every month. They bring out a speaker. They cater free food that they offer, and you can listen to a guest speaker talk about various things that pertains to you. They also have yoga or exercise classes, and they go to the movies. That's another program they have, and adult learning classes that they also offer.
That's fantastic. That's fantastic. Now let's talk about volunteering in general. As some of you who have volunteered for Tracey might know, she has had a career service in the military. Thank you for your service. And so you come from a background of service. And why is volunteering important?
Well, I think it's important because when you help your neighbor out, you're helping your community out. When you help your community out, you're helping the county, in turn, then the state, and then, that just the world. So you just pay it forward. I always think about when I'm that age and some of the services I will need, and I want to stay in my home, because it's not always about that you can't do certain things. You want to do them independently and stay at your home instead of going to, say, another facility. So I just think about if we help people out now, in turn, you'll need that service one day, and you should always consider that.
Why are senior volunteers, retired and senior volunteer program participants so important and so helpful to your program, Tracey?
Well, when I look at all the volunteers that I have for the Shepherd Center, all of them are retirees. And most of them started off maybe helping a neighbor. So I think that, first of all, they're reliable, dependable, but most of all, they understand and they care. If they could care for a neighbor, a parent, an aging parent, then it's already within them to want to help out someone else.
Well, Tracey, thanks so much for joining us this morning and fitting us in. You're a very busy person doing all the work that you do, and we truly appreciate your time. And to wrap our podcast up today, is there anything else you want to tell our volunteers, our potential volunteers, about your program and why they should consider being a driver with the Shepherd Center of Fairfax-Burke, and especially in South County?
Yes, I am really in need of volunteers. Volunteers are what make this program. Without you, we could not do what we're doing. The clients that we have, they're very grateful for the rides that they receive, and a lot of them make donations to the Shepherd Center. A lot of them want to take you out to lunch after their ride is over. Again, it's you only do what you're comfortable with, but it's a way for them to show their gratefulness to you. So I would love to talk. I love talking with potential volunteers one-on-one. 21st, please give me a call at 703-799-0505. Or again, as Rob stated, you can check out our website to get a little bit more information about the program at www.scfbva.org.
Thank you again, Tracey. It was a pleasure to chat with you, and I hope you get a lot of volunteers here.
Oh, thank you, Rob, for having me. I appreciate this.
Thank you. This is Rob Payne on behalf of Carly Hubicki and the entire RSVP Northern Virginia team. Thanks so much for tuning in, and we hope you'll join us next week on another RSVP Northern Virginia podcast.